This is a spoiler-free look at A Haunting in Venice, directed by Kenneth Branagh. So half the fun of these murder mystery movies is trying to figure out who did it, so I definitely won't be spoiling any of those details in this video. So the basic premise of A Haunting in Venice is this: set in 1947 in Venice, Italy, a retired Hercule Poirot is invited to a seance to debunk a medium who's been hired to communicate with the dead. When a murder takes place, Poirot is tasked again with finding out who the killer is. What is interesting with this trilogy so far is we've had Murder on the Orient Express, Death on the Nile, and now A Haunting in Venice, and they've all had the components of murder mystery, whodunit, based off of Agatha Christie books, and this one has that cool horror spin on it, which is what initially intrigued me in the trailers. So I want to kick off with the positives of this film. The framing, the lighting, the symmetry, the atmosphere, they nailed the aesthetic in this film. Post-World War II Venice looks amazing, and they did some incredible exterior shots of Venice, Italy. Everything in the city feels big and beautiful and colorful, which is why when they make it into the house where everything is dark and dim and rainy and nasty, everything feels more claustrophobic and a little bit scarier. I will say I don't think that the horror elements in this film really landed all that well, but it didn't detract from the overall film. From the fog and the gondolas that they ride in on to the costume design, everything is given really good care and attention in this film. They have these really cool straight down overhead shots, and they do a really good job of these very symmetrical shots that I really loved. There's also a use of wide angle shots. There's tons of wide angle shots, even on characters, which is basically this and can sometimes be a little bit weird looking, but in this film, they did a really good job and didn't overuse it. It can oftentimes make the space feel bigger and make you feel closer to the actor and the performance. Wide angle lenses are typically not the top choice for a shot of a person, but they're really well used in this movie. A Haunting in Venice is based off of Agatha Christie's book Halloween Party, and it's just that. This is a Halloween party that's taking place. There's kids in these really interesting and cool costumes, and then to end the night off, they have a seance in which they try to communicate with a mother's deceased daughter. The seance scene is pretty interesting, and Michelle Yeoh's performance really grounds everything. She can do no wrong in my eyes, especially after Everything Everywhere All at Once. What makes the movie more interesting this go round is that there is that horror element, and it causes Hercule Poirot to question the logical versus the spiritual. They do this in a fun and compelling way, and it overall makes sense. That's what I really appreciate about these films, is there's no cheap cop-out in it. The story here is compelling, and the roster of characters is great, and as I was watching, I kept kind of changing who I thought the murderer was, and that's what's great in a murder mystery, is when you're on the tip of your toes and just trying to guess whodunit. So yeah, the one thing I did want to address, if you are a diehard horror fan, this isn't going to win you over. It's not a great horror film. It is a good film, and it's really fun to watch and enjoy at the theater, but I don't think it's an amazing horror film. Part of the reason behind that is that the jump scares, I don't know if they were even intended to be jump scares, but a lot of them involve birds, and they just weren't very scary. The moments of having a spirit show up or whatever weren't that scary either. There were some intense scenes, especially in the seance, but other than that, it wasn't true horror. I think it could have leaned a little bit more heavily into the horror and would have been a more compelling film, but all in all, it's still really enjoyable. Haunting in Venice clocks in at an hour and 43 minutes and is really well paced. It's a shorter film and does a really good job of bringing you into the story, creating compelling characters, and having some components of horror, some that worked, some that didn't, and having an overall good whodunit mystery. Do people still say whodunit? The movie is well directed by Kenneth Branagh, and he does an amazing job playing Hercule Poirot. I always find him to be a compelling actor, whether he's playing Gilderoy Lockhart in the Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, or whether he's playing something like a commander in Christopher Nolan's Dunkirk. Who is A Haunting in Venice for? I think it skews towards an older demographic, but if you're a fan of Kenneth Branagh or Michelle Yeoh, if you've enjoyed A Murder on the Orient Express or Death on the Nile, I think you'll enjoy this film as well. If you're really into murder mysteries, this one's obviously for you, but if you're really into horror, this may not be the thing that wins you over. At the end of the day, A Haunting in Venice is a pretty solid film. I'd give it a B or roughly an 8. See ya.